For this episode of the TWTL podcast, I wanted to run through one of our scenes and how it is played out in real life. I'll be using simple graphics and animation to illustrate this scene. The dialogue is not pulled from the actual scene in Jesus Messiah, though the action sequences loosely follow what is happening. This is to preserve the scene for the viewing audience. Mostly, this is what I have gleaned from this story in my own study and experience after practicing it for the Jesus Messiah production. If this style of recap is something you enjoy, let me know in the comments, and we'll continue it in these recaps and beyond. With all that said, let's dive in. Jesus is teaching in the temple at Jerusalem. His followers are gathered around listening to their master. However, this wasn't going to be a normal day for Jesus, because just down the road something big was brewing. A woman was being dragged towards the temple by an angry mob. Her crime? Adultery. This would normally result in a common trial, but the Pharisees had other plans. They were going to use this event to catch Jesus in a trap. They would circumvent the order of how the law was practiced. This would either turn the followers of Christ against him, or the Pharisees would lose favor with their people even further. This is the story of Jesus and the adulteress. This story comes from the Gospel of John chapter 8. Jesus is at the apex of his ministry. He has a multitude of followers. Common people, wealthy individuals, and even some Pharisees flock to him. The Pharisees and Sanhedrin are in a panic. They know that Jesus has influence, and there is little they can do to stop him. However, if they let him continue, their influence will further fade among the people. More and more people will flock to him. They've even heard rumors that his followers desire to crown him king. They have to stop him. Though not planned, the incident with the adulteress gave them a window. They know that Jesus has been saying and doing controversial things. If they could put him in a difficult situation, he would either indict himself or be forced to submit to their authority. Either way, they win. The mob brings the adulteress to the Pharisees, expecting them to submit her for trial. However, the Pharisees choose to turn her over to Jesus. This was illegal. Though Jesus is called rabbi several times in the scriptures, he was not a member of the Sanhedrin and had no authority under the law to judge this woman. The common people would have probably been confused. Though the woman had been caught in the act of adultery, she still deserved a proper trial. That meant an authorized religious official would preside over her hearing. Witnesses would be brought forth, and the woman would be able to make her own case. In the end, the judge or judges would confer and make their ruling. This kind of trial is highlighted in Acts 7, in the trial of Stephen. Stephen, a minister in Jerusalem, was brought before the Sanhedrin. He was charged with blasphemy against the temple and the laws of Moses. Witnesses were brought forth, and Stephen was given a chance to defend himself. It was a trial, albeit a show trial. The Sanhedrin wanted him dead, and they got what they wanted. Still, it would seem to be better than what the adulteress was getting. Or was it? So to recap, Jesus has been given full authority to decide this woman's fate. The Pharisees expected one of two things to happen. Jesus would A, side with them, the woman would die, and Jesus would be put into submission. Or B, he would declare that she should be let go, thus declaring the law of Moses null and void, making him a heretic. Either way, the Pharisees would win. The Pharisees and the multitude waited. Jesus knelt on the ground outside the temple. He looked like he was writing something in the sand. He simply sat there and ignored them. This infuriated the religious leaders. Jesus was ignoring them. He was making them look bad. They pressed him many times, and finally Jesus rose. He looked at the woman and then looked to the people. His next words would completely catch everyone off guard. He that is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her. A silence fell over the crowd. One by one, stones dropped to the ground. The crowd slowly dispersed, starting with the eldest down to the youngest. The Pharisees, desperate to catch Jesus breaking the law, had been defeated. His words called for introspection and mercy instead of judgment and wrath. Could a sinful person truly be allowed to judge another's sins, or would we allow the one who is sinless to be the judge? Make no mistake, sin is addressed in the New Testament by Jesus and his followers. However, from this moment onward, we see that sin is looked at through the filter of mercy instead of judgment. It speaks to us today. Am I looking at people, even those with obvious sins in their lives, with judgment? Or am I seeking to extend mercy and grace with the offer of a truly repentant lifestyle? Jesus told the woman he did not condemn her. He also told her to go and sin no more. Remember, he is God, robed in flesh. Her sin was first against him. Yet he sought to reconcile her and offer her a path forward. This is why this scene is in Jesus Messiah. It puts into perspective how we should treat sin, because it reveals how God treats sin. He does not dismiss or ignore it, but he also does not condemn us for it either. He seeks redemption and reconciliation. We can live our lives with this hope and this purpose. When you witness this scene during Jesus Messiah, or you read it during your Bible reading, let the truth filter into your mind and heart. Until next time, I'm Chris Ferris, and this is the TWTL Ministries. God bless and keep searching.